Yes, I will. I think, oh, we're live. Okay. Good morning, Manila. Good morning, Philippines. Good morning, world. And welcome to Education Radio. And today, I'm so happy to have with us Secretary 𝗘𝗱𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂. Sir, welcome. Once a
Hi, Pia.
secretary, always a secretary, right? So I
Yeah,
know the rules. I know the rules. So welcome. Welcome to Education Radio, sir. I'm so
right.
happy to have you again.
Thank you, Pia. It's always a pleasure to be with you, and especially you're not you're not just a personality. Talagang committed nationalist ka.
Thank you, sir. I'm so flattered. I'm so touched. But yes, thank you very much, sir. I'm just like you. Not as high as you are, but yes, like you. And I really enjoyed our conversation the other day. It was so nice to see you in that forum. I think that you were really one of the best people to tap into. Of course, we watched you in the campaign trail during the election season, and you really had a lot of pearls to offer all of us. And so today we'd like to hear more of those pearls from you. And I think one of the biggest connections that you and I have made is really our standpoint on our Filipino identity.
Correct.
And let's begin with that, sir, because we often talk about how much we appreciate or understand about our own identity. And maybe in one sense, we can say, yes, we know so much of it from, or on the other end, very little of it from our literature or our culture. And perhaps what we know of it is something that sometimes we leave behind, or there is a disconnect. Your thoughts, sir, beginning with this?
Thank you for that question. It's a very crucial question, and I think it goes to the very heart of our of the Philippine challenge, no? Let me just try to backtrack a little bit kasi nagsimula tayo dito na our conversation. You referred back to this forum that we had early this week, no? We talked about avoiding a Ukraine situation in the Philippines. Because of the proposal, or well, it's not really a proposal anymore, apparently, but apparently the invitation to the U.S. to establish four additional EDCA bases, meaning to say they will use some of our bases or some of our facilities, Philippine facilities, from which the U.S. will use as a launch pad for any security issues that they have in the region. And so the question arose whether it's good for us or not. Well, sa madaling salita, no, if you don't mind, but just very quickly, long story short, if we invite a geopolitical giant here into the Philippines who is in conflict, which is in conflict with another geopolitical giant, as somebody said, we the ants, tayong mga langgam, ay matatapakan lang. The grass, or somebody said, when the elephants clash, the grass suffers, no?
Right.
But so the basic question therefore went back, how come we don't seem to be able to resist? How come we welcome this sort of thing? And at the heart of it, we said that, well, my argument was, yes, there are many technical reasons why, even blaming certain political leaders, but at the end of the day, Pia, it seems to go back to the root cause, which is our lack of empathy for the well-being of the nation, of the Philippines and the Filipinos.
Yes.
And it seems to go back to what the former National Security Advisor of FBR said, si Joel Monte, said, kulang tayo ng identity. Kulang tayo ng ang tawag nga niya confident self-identity, in which kumbaga we seem to he, as he put it in his wonderful book, I think if you can try to get it, Pia, I'll show it to you in a while.
Yes,
He says, what we lack, we seem to have an utter disregard for anything public. Kumbaga, kunyari malinis yung bahay natin, yung paligid natin, pero yung mga kalye, yung mga kalye, nagkasira-sira, marumi, kasi hindi naman atin. Kumbaga wala tayong empathy kumbaga sa basta't hindi atin, kahit na sa publiko, basta't hindi nakasama sa natin, sa atin, ay yun ang nagiging problema. So going back, what we need is to have a confident national identity, which means not just a personal identity, but also a identity that as a people, nakasama yung iba, kasama yung ating kababayan. So kumbaga kung kumasaktan sila, nasasaktan tayo, kung anong ikabubuti nila, ikabubuti rin natin. So ganon. So kumbaga ay at the root issue in most of our economics, corruption, everything seems to go back to that. That there seems to be a lack of a confident national identity, or a or a healthy national identity, wherein we are concerned not just for ourselves but also for the rest of our kababayans.
Right. And on those lines, sir, I'm sure all of us memorize naman our Lupang Hinirang by heart. And when we sing this, and in school pa nga, we're made to write it, memorize it, because, it's something that we shouldn't be just singing, but really know by heart. Isn't that something also that holds a promise to our ancestors, as they say, of what we should be doing for our country, as how they have done for us? They didn't even know who we were going to be, right? So history has shown us what they have done for us, for our country. And every time we sing this song, our national anthem, it's that promise that we hold in our hearts, right? Knowing what they have done for us in the past. So, sir, having said this, do we know it? Do we feel it when we sing it? When we sing our national anthem? Again, I'll ask, there's a disconnect, and it seems that it's something that has been brought about from everything that we have gone through, colonization, all that. Our identity, as you have said, is so young, and we haven't really nurtured it. We haven't really, we don't really know us, ourselves. Right, sir?
Tama ka. Alam mo, actually itong tulad ng Lupang Hinirang, actually this was birthed during around the time of the Philippine Revolution. So may say talaga ang revolutions. Pero dapat, it must be, dapat nabuo yung ating identity with the revolutions that we had, because it was the time when we kasi yung pinaglalaban natin katulad ng unang revolution, hindi ba ang sabi nga ni Andres Bonifacio, kahit na nga ang tawag Katagalugan, meron siyang addendum doon sa statement niya. Ang Katagalugan includes the Bisaya, the Ilocano, and everybody else. Kaya lang ginamit yung Tagalog kasi during that time, yung word na Pilipino para lang sa mga Espanyol na napanganak sa Pilipinas. Kumbaga yung mga insulares, no? Insulares, no? So gumamit siya ng isang termino na kung saan sana mahuhuli yung puso natin. Now, going back, tama ka, dapat nararamdaman natin. Ang ganda-ganda. May isa pa nga kanta na na yung there's another song, there's another Filipino song that's just as beautiful. But the one that I'd like to point out also, Pia, is yung dating Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, the Panatang Makabayan.
Yung
right?
luma, hindi yung bago.
Yes,
Medyo,
yung luma.
medyo streamlined masyado yung
Yes,
bago.
yes. Yes.
Yung iniibig ko ang Pilipinas, itong aking lupang
Lupang sinilangan.
sinilangan.
Right.
It perfectly captures what being Filipino is. I was born here. I am a citizen. It's, in fact, citizenship, the way we understand it, it really goes to the heart of Filipino identity. Doesn't matter if you're Muslim or Catholic or Tagalog or Ilocano or what. Basta dito ka, kasama tayo. So going back, there seems to have been a miseducation, Pia, of the Filipino. And I think we should take note of that. And I believe na dapat siguro maging maisoli sa atin ang isang hindi naman bias, no? Hindi naman pero if we could capture, if we could have a more nationalist education.
Yes.
Something that tells the Philippine history the way it really was. Hindi yung idealized, hindi yung quote-unquote colonial tool.
Yeah. Yes. Going back to the forum, sir, what do you think was the reaction of the people who actually attended the forum? I just saw this online, but I really have to congratulate you and Miss Sass as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sass was the star of the show.
Yeah, I know. I felt her passion. It felt so
siya.
good to be Filipino also when I saw her actually.
Oh, talagang nag-ano siya, no? Sass was really, really poking the fire, but you have to also credit people like sina Ana Malindog-Uy and
Yes, that's true.
Mentong Laurel, and of course Wilson Flores for
Yes.
hosting events like these. But basically, ano yung response ng mga tao? The response of the people, I think there's a growing sense of nationalism.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's yet incipient, kasi right now the tendency seems to blame people, blame personalities, blame this and blame that, which is, andyan na tayo. But that would be a tactical reason. This happened because of this because of this historical phenomena. But alam mo, much deeper, ang nakikita ko is that strategically it goes back yung pinag-usapan natin, a lack of national identity. Kasi medyo confused talaga tayo. Ano ba tayo? What makes us Filipino? So yun. So, in fact, some people reacted when I was talking about that, no? Kasi binanggit ko kasing kwento, Pia, was yung experience ko when I was in DFA, na kung saan yung mga people from the Northern Hemisphere tended to identify with their current citizenship. Kunyari, nasa North America sila, may tendency to think in terms of kami, kayo, bakit kayo ganyan, which is a little bit, okay, fine, I get it. You're Phil-Am or you're this or you're that. So kasi hindi ba ang lakas ngayon ng gender, ng identity politics? Pero, hindi ba? Pero parang hindi katulad nung nandun sa nasa, tawag dito, yung mga nasa Middle East na mga Pilipino. Ang talagang tawagan, kabayan, tayo. Almonte also pointed out na there are three types of Filipinos, one that says akin, the other one that says kami, and the other one that says tayo. Tayo is more inclusive, hindi ba?
Yeah.
Kayong mga Pilipino, hindi yung kayong mga Pilipino, kasi iba na ako. So, there seems to be a lack of, parang ang bilis na mabitiwan yung identity ng kung saan siya isinilang.
Yes. And that's a nationalistic mindset that we ought to be forming by now, right? Especially the young people who sometimes they also feel confused. Let's just say the ones who were actually born in other countries, but their parents are Filipino. So they're saying that they practice Filipino culture at home, but it's not the culture of the country that they belong to, right? So when they go outside, it's a different story, and they feel like, how do we keep ourselves intact, right? Considering when we go out there, right? So, but then again, it adds to that confusion, I guess, for them on really imbibing a nationalistic mindset that should include, if you're questioning how, your values, your Filipino values. Would you say so, 𝗥𝗱𝗂𝗂𝗰𝘁𝗶𝐿?
Right. I agree. Now, just before we continue, let me just differentiate. There is a negative nationalism which says my nation is better and stronger
Yeah.
and greater than yours, and there is a nationalism that takes a rightful pride in who we are. Kaso that seems to be lacking among us. Parang hindi ba the best we can say is Pinoy talaga eh. Ganun talaga yung Pinoy eh, no? Magulang, ganito. Parang sineselebrate natin yung ating mga kahinaan. You know, siguro ang kulang talaga sa atin, not siguro, it looks like, ang kulang sa atin yung sense, yung kwento natin sa ating sarili, our own narrative about ourselves. We seem to lack a heroic dimension, which I believe we lost both in 1898 and in, let's say, 1986. No offense meant to any present personalities, no? Kasi during those times, we really had, kasi it was an electric moment, it was a galvanizing moment when, I can only speak for 1986, no? I wasn't there in 1898. Pero if in 1898, natuloy yung, let's say, panalo tayo against the Spaniards, except that the Spaniards decided, ayoko nga mag-surrender sa mga Indio, dito na ako sa Amerikano.
Yeah, bebenta ko na.
Nawala yung nawala yung tawag niyan, yung ating nawala yung factor, nawala yung ating moment, yung parang ating kapanalunan na nasana natin to, di ba napigilan nga si Aguinaldo from going into Intramuros nung sinabihan sila dito kayo sa tabi, dito kayo sa tabi. So kumbaga paglabas ng mga Espanyol, hindi, I mean, you know, the colonizers, I know very well that you are Espanyol.
No, but it's part of my heritage, you know.
That's part of your heritage.
Yeah, we have to embrace that. We have to embrace that.
Pero yung the colonizers, the colonizing forces, when they came out, hindi sila pinaharap they intentionally avoided the Filipinos, the Filipino revolutionaries, and they went straight to the Americans. And kumbaga na ano tayo, disenfranchised tayo, wala tayo. Na-itsapwera tayo, na-itsapwera ang Pilipino. So nawala yung ating kwento na sana kaya nating sabihin, tinalo namin kayo. Panalo kami. Wala tayo nung ganung klaseng factor na wala. Yeah. We could have said, that could have been a great moment. That could have been a teaching moment. That could have been a truly historic narrative that we could have emphasized. 1986 would have been also a significant moment. I mean, the aftermath, except that in the aftermath, nawala rin yung ating moment of celebrating sana. This is the kind of nation we want. This is the kind of governance we want. Some other
we missed the boat again.
Again, twice.
Yes, twice. Right.
Right. But Pia, I'll let you. But I believe we are on the cusp of a third moment.
Okay, that's interesting. Why is that?
Simply because I think there's something boiling. There's something, kumbaga nagkakaroon ng sense. It's a general discontent. It's a general listlessness, which not one can sense. You know, it's not yet, kumbaga parang nagsimula na yung kulo ng tubig. You know, hopefully, there's a sense na, ano ba tayo? Ba't ba tayo ganito? Because if you remember right, during the past several what do you call this, elections, and also the way people have responded, ang mga tao seem to be wanting to hold on to, not a dream, but hold on to something tangible, something real, something noble, something na talagang pwede mo panghawakan na sabihin, ito yung tama, ito yung dapat, parang ganon. But right now, it's still all centered on personalities. But that can shift.
Okay, how does it shift? Because if I just can interject, like considering our geographical makeup, for example, it adds the complexity to our Filipino culture, right? You said it earlier. Dapat kasi tayo, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. In my columns, I always say that too. We are one Filipino brothers and sisters, regardless of where we come from, whether we're Luzon, Visayas, or Mindanao. But how do we do this, 𝗘𝗱𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂?
We right now
It's hard to grasp. We feel it in our heart.
Pero actually, in a sense, ano yun hindi ba, how does one unite a nation? By finding a common enemy.
Okay.
Di ba? If we find a common enemy, pwede tayo magsama-sama. And then, di ba, katulad niyan, kung may somebody's trying to sabihin natin, kinukuha yung ating mga, kumbaga, sinasaltik yung ano natin, yung ating bahay, kung dahil sinasalbahe tayo, talaga nagsasama-sama tayo dyan. Kasi, di ba, ang Pilipino pa naman, masyadong, pag may nangyari ganyan, nagkakaisa tayo. Right. It looks like right now, kung makita lang natin, kung medyo mamulat tayo, kumbaga, we wake up, we awaken. If we can wake up to the situation, like for example, ito akin lang, kung babasahin mo kasi, konting analysis lang, Kasi one reason bakit may isang political analyst na nagsabi siya, kung talagang gusto ng Pilipino yung tulong ng Amerikano, sabi niya, dapat marunong siyang, dapat may ambag. Dapat may ambag daw ang Pilipino. Ano yung ambag natin? Hindi niya naman ini-spell out, pero isa, sabi niya, yung for example, sinasabi, kumbaga, kunyari maglalagay sila ng bases dito. Hindi naman postcard pictures lang yan hindi ba? Pwede kasing balikan pwedeng balikan yan. Hindi ba? Yeah. Kunyari, kung threatening yan, bubomba siya. Baka unahan yung base na yan at bombahin siya bago, kunyari, I'm just theoretically.
Right.
Siyempre, ang tatamaan, Luzon o Visayas o Mindanao. So, may collateral damage. Tayo yung collateral damage, hindi ba? Kung magising tayo sa ganung bagay at ma-realize natin, sandali, nasasali natin tayo sa isang salpakan na hindi naman ating away.
It's not our fight. Correct. So, like what you also said the last time, if it's our fight, it has to be ours. Like, we own it.
Correct.
That's ours. Tayo yung makikipaglaban and we can claim it in the end. And historically, that's how it should have been, sana, except that we jumped from the Spaniards to the Americans and we had nothing to claim. Correct. We had nothing to claim, sir.
Correct. Tapos isa pa, yung sinasabi na kasi isabi din ng commentator, sabi niya, kung gusto nilang tulungan natin sila, kung gusto daw ng Pilipino na tulungan sila ng Amerikano, but you see, there's something that seems like a very loaded statement. Bakit sila napoprotektahan daw nila ang Pilipino doon sa West Philippine Sea? If they want us to protect them in the West Philippine Sea, or of course they call it South China Sea, but since Filipino tayo,
yes.
West Philippine Sea. Pero ang puntos kasi niya, why do we pass the fight to them? It's our fight. Pero we need help.
Yeah.
We need some assistance. Like, for example, we need Filipino boots on the ground and Filipino hands maneuvering the boats. No, the boats may be assistance given to others, but kung usually naman yung assistance din, utang din natin yan. So atin din yun, hindi ba? Atin yun. Kumbaga, huwag natin ipaubaya sa iba ang ating kapakanan. This is our fight. Kaya lang, wala tayong laban talaga. dahil kulang yung ating mga ano. Pero kung ngayon pa man, pwede na kasi nating, pag namulat tayo, pwede kasing pwede kasing mangyari na, when we become awake, we can begin to take, in the beginning, maybe baby steps towards a confident national identity. Kaya natin to. Paglaban natin to. This is our battle.
Yeah.
And let's do it. Let's protect our own people. And
so we have to begin with knowing who we are, right?
Correct.
So kaya natin to because Filipino tayo.
Correct.
Ganon. Tayo, right? Tayo. Filipino
Hindi
tayo.
ka. Hindi ka.
Yeah. You have to own it, right? Filipino tayo. So kaya natin ito. So in the end, sir, well, we're talking about the 𝗘𝗱𝗂, and again, I mentioned that, okay, so our geographical makeup is also, we're spread throughout as islands, right?
Right.
And I watched a show one time that said, okay, if we needed to escape, like where would we end up? And someone said, di saan pa? Di sa dagat. Diba? Kasi nga, we are islands. But, we have to ask, is this a benefit? Is it a liability? If we're talking about our geographical makeup, you're talking about additional bases in certain areas such as Cagayan, Isabela, Palawan, Zambales. With its own cultural makeup, you would say, right? Its own beliefs. You know how we are. Like, let's say I'm from Quezon Province. So, of course, when I see a friend from Quezon Province, I'll be like, oh, diba? Quezonian, just like me, right? We are from the same province. So, I'm pretty sure these people feel that way. They have that. We Filipinos also have that sense of identity in the sense na
regional.
Yeah, regional. There you go. That's it, right? So how now do we make this bigger, nationalistic?
Balikan natin kung sinabi natin, alam niyo mga kapwa Pilipino, hindi natin sasabihin tiga Quezon, tiga Manila, tiga ano. Sabihin natin, meron tayong hinaharap. Ano yung hinaharap natin? For example, katulad nun, tinanong mo kasi kanina, ano ba yung benefit ng 𝗘𝗑𝗂 para sa atin? Supposed to be? Actually, wala naman
No benefit.
No direct benefit.
No direct benefit.
No direct benefit. Well, sasabihin lang may access. Pero like for example, kung pagkakasabi nung analyst na ito, si Pauling, sabi niya, kasi tutulungan daw nila ang Pilipino na lumaban. Away nga natin to atin to. Tayong dapat magprotekta. So kumbaga, if we can kung yung leadership kasi natin sana would become more inspirational in gathering our sentiments, in talking to the people, not just as politicians, but to talk to us as Filipino leaders. As Filipino leaders. Katulad ng ginawa ni Bonifacio. Kinausap niya tayo, yung mga, kumbaga, ang kausap ng leader dapat, yung bayan. Hindi pa yung estado. Because the state is different from the nation. Yung nation, yan yung mga tao. Yan yung may sentimiento, yan yung may puso, yan yung may takot, yan yung nawawalan ng isda. Yan yung natatakot mangisda.
Yeah.
Yan yung baka nakatira let's say sa tabi ng isang base diyan. Siya natatakot baka may mangyari sa hindi, wala namang mangyari sa inyo. Who's to know?
Who's to know?
Who's to know?
And they have their own specific concerns wherever they're coming from.
Correct. Right? So my point is your question, how do we gather the people? Maybe look at it from the other side. The other side being that we need to be our leaders need to become true leaders in the sense of inspiring the people to really become one and fight our own battles, build our own economy. Hindi yung kasi nangyari, nagbago Imbis na tayo mga Pilipino, ang nangyari, tayong Pilipino na may mayaman, na may mahirap, na may middle class, na mabilis na mawala.
Yeah.
Nagiging class, nagiging,
Class war?
hindi naman siguro war, pero parang may dihado.
Yeah.
May nagiging dihado.
This discrepancy is too big.
Correct. The economic inequality is just too much. And it's not getting lesser.
It's not.
It's not.
But we need the middle class, Ernie.
Because if the middle class is the one that usually helps, is usually the one that has a sense of the past and the future and which way to go. So mahalaga ang middle class. Yan din yung pag nagbago ang isip, pagbabago din ang takbo ng bayan.
Nako, delikado yan. Yes.
Ikaw buti naman natin, Tia.
Yes, middle class man tayo, sir. We are part of that, right? And yeah, you're right. They're the ones who know, like, I guess you would say, like, the history. But, sir, in terms of being ethnically Filipino and then nationally something else, so many Filipinos are also that way because they are already born in other countries. Like, we see this every time, we celebrate somebody from another country. We find that what I'm trying to say is we find that, they're part Filipino. So we celebrate them also as Filipinos. So there's something in terms of trying to find our identity, our sense of identity, when we encounter people like that. By citizenry, they're not Filipino, but by blood or ethnicity, they are, right? So that also, I guess, there's that identity crisis. I think it adds, would you say, sir, to our identity crisis?
Yes, yung identity crisis kasi natin right now, like you're saying, it becomes now, I'm from Davao, I'm from this, I'm from that. Hindi nga lang from Davao. For example, one example is yung the college where you came from. The school where you came from. For example, in the US, ang lakas dyan ng the Silliman Alumni Association. Kumbaga, they call it the Silliman Spirit. Pag nagsama yan, naku, talagang kwentuhan yan. And pag hindi ka kasama, like for example, my wife is Sillimanian. And of course, I studied there also. I got one of my masters there. Pero, sila lalo na yung grew out of that milieu, talagang buong-buo. So, tama ka, meron talagang regionalism and all that. Pero, I think I believe what precipitates, and I hate to put it this way, fuera de los buenos. Bisaya kayo ba, pero de los buenos. What we need, what usually precipitates a coming together of the identity is a crisis.
Yeah.
It's usually a crisis that overcomes the regional obstacles. It's usually a crisis that overcomes these regionalisms. It's usually a crisis. So if we can, but there are so many crises right now. Yeah. Like for example, katulad nung the typhoons. The typhoons definitely consolidated the Filipinos. But if there is a geopolitical crisis that probably could really sharpen, looks to me like it could truly sharpen our sense of national identity. Kasi yung crisis, yung bagyo, awa. Pero itong political crisis, merong sense of righteousness or righteous anger or righteous grief, a sense na dapat may mangyari, dapat makilahok tayo. Yeah. And I believe it's time na makilahok ang Pilipino.
Yeah, that's the one that will bring us together. That's what you're saying. And I think like just putting it all together, these pieces, why we're talking of identity and then the crisis and these issues that we're having right now in our country. I want to take it back to something like I was at the World Cup, in Spain, and I was like about 10 years ago. And at that time, they were going through a major economic crisis. And the thing is, however, when they formed their team for football, they put in the Catalan and all the groups from Real Madrid, from Barca. They were fight. You know how like the regions they fight because they want to be separated from Spain and all that. But the point I'm trying to make here is that when they became one group that represented their country for the World Cup, they erased anything, like the regions and all that, whatever political issues that they had, and they went to war or, football war as one team. And guess what? They won. They won the World Cup that time. And that was the biggest lesson that I learned. Of course, we were also happy, right? But if you take that kind of idea, I guess that's what you're saying, that you find this common ground, right? This is just football, right? But in the real sense of the world, where with everything that we're going through, I guess that's what you're saying, that we have to find this commonality where we all forget where we're coming from and just look at ourselves as we're one Filipino.
Correct. Alam mo, that's what Manny Pacquiao did, He, almost single-handedly delivered, that, he really called, and of course, all these Miss Universe contests, nakatulong, because lagi tayo naghahanap na, gutom talaga tayo ng ng something to be proud of. Something to be truly, in Gilas ba yun?
Yes, yeah.
The football team. Kaya lang, they probably need a really good win.
Yeah, right. And you're right about Manny. I mean, considering like on every fight, there's no crime, right? Am I correct?
Correct.
There's like no recorded crime. Right. Okay, everybody went, rooting for Manny anywhere in the Philippines, right? Senator Manny Pacquiao. So that in itself is an example of, yes, we're looking for something that we can all come together for, right? And maybe that's what's going to form our identity. But again, I have to go back to this forum where the question that I asked was, what are the benefits? What's the liability? How do we weigh things right now? Because we know that, of course, the left, the left, and they'll always say, we're getting dragged into conflict, and we shouldn't be used as a staging ground. To a certain extent, may punto rin naman sila, right? And but where's that middle ground?
Actually, in a sense, there's no, the question.
Is there one? Yeah, that's a good question. Is there one?
In the 𝗥𝗱𝗂𝗂 situation, it's not a left or a right.
Yeah.
Although they try to frame it that way, some people will say, alam mo, if you're against this, kaliwa ka. No, you're not kaliwa.
Yeah. Because they have a very valid point.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, ang puntos dyan is not whether you're pro-US or pro-China. It's a question of being pro-Philippines.
Yes.
Ang pinaglalaban natin, hindi ideolohiya. We're not fighting for an ideology. We're fighting for our identity. We're fighting for our nation. We're fighting for our people. Alam mo, that's why I went back to I always go back to the, what do you call it? The National
Security. Yeah. Because
napakanipis, but it spells out our national interests.
Right.
And to you, for example, Pia, it's amazing. There are nine national interests. 9 lang. Pero in isa dyan, for example, it says freedom from any form of nuclear weapons within the Philippine territory. This is neither left nor this is a state policy.
Yeah.
It's for example, it says protection of the freedom, public safety, and welfare of the people. Pag naglagay ka ng dyan, ng magnet, na, na baka tamaan yung ibang tao. So that breaks our national interest. For example, yung preservation of the sovereignty and integrity of the national territory. Tayo ba, did we want this?
Yeah.
Or, for example, it should have been really brought through a referendum sana, no?
Yeah.
Kung sana tinanong ang ordinaryong mamamayan kung okay ba sa kanila to. Tapos, pursuit of independent foreign policy in the exercise of national sovereignty and self-determination. Kagustuhan ba natin to? Hindi lang sa national territory. So, sometimes, that's, you're right, Pia, sometimes the issues are framed in terms of pro and con, either you're for this power or that power, for this ideology or that ideology. It's not. It's basically for Filipino well-being. It's for the national. It's for the nation.
It's pro-PH, right?
That's right.
We have to be pro-Philippines.
Correct.
That's where our mindset should be at.
Correct.
Yes, because when we reading that book, and I have also written all my notes, right? We can't help but go back to all these things. You hear words like the expanded EDCAs here so that we can boost the Philippine our national security, right? And then more economic investments. Then you mentioned, as we preserve our maritime natural resources. I mean, preserving our natural resources, can it not be done by us? Like, where have we fallen short, sir, that while I hate to admit it, we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to preserve our maritime interests, our natural resources. Where have we fallen short?
I don't know if this is, but there's a 16-page essay available on the internet. It's called "The Miseducation of the Filipino."
Okay, let's read that.
Yeah, but that's Renato Constantino. He's a nationalist, a historian. Some people say he's left, he's kaliwa. No, he's basically a nationalist. And then ang kasi he goes back. Ang nagmold talaga kasi di ba, public education. The Spaniards never gave us. We don't even know how to speak Spanish.
I speak Spanish.
Yeah, but for the plain and simple reason that you come from Spanish stock. Di ba? You speak that. It's not even anything special. It's your family.
Yeah.
It's basically family, Pero they did not educate us, you remember? They only tried to educate a few elite, quote unquote, whom they wanted to capture. Mga Hiswita pa man din.
Yes.
Ang sabi pa ng Hiswita, give me a boy at an impressionable age and he is mine for life. So kumbaga meron talaga silang but they did not give us public education. The one that gave us public education were the Americans. The Americans. And by the way, they gave all the other departments to Filipinos, but the Department of Education was always under Americans until we quote unquote gained our independence.
Right. That's true. That's
because doon nila inimprint sa atin na mas superior talaga ang West.
Yeah.
Na kumbaga ang Pilipino ay and being Filipino was just a dreamy illusion, na kumbaga we kahit na yung ating sistema ng education was based on industrial, the production line, hindi ba? Yung from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, teng, tapos 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, teng. Kasi hindi ba sa production line, for about an hour, they will run windows, they will run doors, kumbaga, sinanay tayo sa ganung klase. Hindi pa naman tayo industrial during that time. Yes. Agricultural pa tayo, hindi pa tayo nakapag-develop. So kumbaga, yung sinabi mo na, hindi nga natin alam paano i-manage ang ano natin, yung ating seas, because hindi na imprint sa atin na mahalaga atin ito.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are our resources.
Yeah.
These are, for example, not just Filipino, makajos. These are not just God-given resources, but these are God-given resources to Filipinos.
Us, Filipinos, right?
Filipinos.
Yeah.
Kaya nga wala tayong sense of being Filipino. So, para itong isda para sa aming mga Cebuano lang, para sa aming mga taga-Pangasinan lang,
Yeah.
or Quezon in your case.
Yeah.
So, kumbaga, hindi talaga sense na atin to. So, yun ang kulang.
How do you defend it now with Filipino hands, right? That's what you also mentioned. If we're going to defend something, it's got to be Filipino hands. Like our Coast Guard, that's Filipino hands. We saw that the last time. They were so admirable, right?
Right.
Filipino hands, you see Filipinos there.
At kung pwede, yung mga boats natin gawa sa Cebu. Pwede
naman ba yun, sir? Pwede yata, di ba?
Oo, Diyos ko naman.
Yeah.
Magawa tayo ng yate. Gumagawa rin tayo. Kaya natin gawin yan. It doesn't have to be. Basta ang atin lang. Yung atin ba? Yung something na ikabibilib natin sa sarili natin. Something that we can be truly proud of. Something.
Yeah, sir, when the Spaniards first came here to the Philippines, that's the story, they got sick, di ba? Sino ba nag-save sa kanila? Di ba yung mga datu natin? They were the saviors. They were in their own boats, brought their own food and medicine, right, and saved lives. So, kaya pala, and historically, kaya pala, nagawa natin yun eh.
Historically, nasa values natin yan, hindi ba? Kaya lang, at this stage, interrupted nga tayo, our historical development, our sociological development, was interrupted twice, or several times actually, by the Spaniards, and then later for the British for 15 days, and then, then the Americans, and then the Japanese. Which reminds me, even the World War II was not our battle.
Yeah.
It was because the Americans were here, hindi ba? Kaya tayo, in the terms of somebody I know, pinagbibembang tayo dahil sa, tayo eh.
That's true, and we fought it. We fought that war. My grandfathers were, were there. They lost their lives, right?
Correct. And that was not because we were Filipinos. It was because we were identified with America as an American colony. So, dun tayo na So, in that sense, we need to learn from history, no? Ikabubuti ba natin to? No, again, I'm not being anti-any.
Yes.
But we're being pro-Filipino.
Pro-Filipino.
Ano ba talaga ang
So, if we're pro-Filipino, sir, yeah, because you're so right. That's always the question poised out there, which is the pros and cons of all these things specifically in terms of the basis. But how do we become pro-Filipino when we look at this situation? When it comes to trade, when it comes to investments, when it comes to bilateral relationships, sir?
Okay. I'd like to begin with those relationships. Una-una, we should treat, we're between two geopolitical, hindi ba?
Yes.
So ang atin dyan is, look, we can continue trading. Both of them are our biggest trading partners eh.
Yes.
Let's continue trading with them. Wala naman tayong away eh. Let's continue trading. Tapos, in the meantime, let's also think strategically. Habang naman nagtitrade tayo, yung naman in the back of our minds, ginagawa natin to kasi nagpapalakas tayo. Let's take advantage. Let's take advantage of the democratic space that we have so that we can begin to build up our own people. We need to have a goal. We need to have a goal for ourselves. And part of that goal should be that we become a confident Filipino nation. Not hindi tayo dependent. Oy, ganito, tulong dito, tulong dyan. Lahat, nilapitan na natin lahat eh. Except yung sarili natin.
Yeah.
mukhang napipilitan tayong ipaglaban yun. Look, I'm not trying to be a hero here. I'm not saying that I'm the bravest guy. No. I'm just as scared as anybody, On the other hand, at least, one realizes that, look, you just have to paddle your own boat.
Right.
Hindi ba?
We have to, because we're Filipinos.
Correct. I mean, why do you expect
The standpoint here is pro-Philippines.
Why do we wait upon another nation to... Bakit tayo magkakaroon ng utang na loob pa? Ang dami na nga natin na utang. Ang dami na natin utang. Meron pati utang na loob, meron pa.
Yeah.
So kumbaga, ano na natin, tayo na mismo. Paano kung katatawanan tayo? So what? Look, the Taipans in the Philippines, when they began, sino ba yung si 𝗘𝗱𝗂𝗰𝘁𝗶𝗄, nagbibisikleta, ganito, ganyan. Ang SM began with this store in Avenida, maliliit naman sila eh.
Yes. They started small.
Everybody started small, Yes. Even the what do you call it, the Sobels and the Ayalas and the Rojases, they came in here. They were also adventurers in a sense, di ba?
Yes, that's true.
Hindi naman sila pagdating dito aristocrat na.
Yeah, that's true.
Nagsimula sila sa maliit. Ganon din tayo. We need to be able to begin small and begin to work ourselves up. Yeah, we just have a longer timeline, but so what?
We have to start somewhere.
Correct. And it's a linear. Hindi naman to cycle. It's a linear. Yeah. There's a point A, there's a point B. And I believe we need to be, kaya lang, so you're going back. Ang tanong mo lagi is this. I believe, Pia, that at the end, the onus is on 3 things, 3 points. If this was a triangle, 3 points. There's the government and its leadership. Should kasi nandiyan sila, it's part of the responsibility.
Right.
Should lead with the vision, should lead with the mission, and should lead with objectives. Malinaw, and it should be pro-Filipino.
Yes.
Pangalawa, the private sector, yung negosyante, huwag naman yung puro kabig. Huwag naman puro kumbaga, let's encourage the growth of small and medium enterprises. Kumbaga, let's share. Kumbaga, that's what Japan did. Kasi pwede. Pwede talaga. We can become our own supply chains, di ba?
Right.
Tapos yung pangatlo should be society, may mamamayan, civil society. And I believe, let me just go back to what I talked about during the campaign period, that ordinary Filipinos at the ground level should become involved in the sanggunian. Sumali tayo, makialam tayo, magsalita tayo ron. You cannot just, dapat vote for a new president. Well, I'll tell you what, some people say mag-parliament tayo, may laos ang presidente, ganito, ganyan. I'll tell you what, if we don't change first, we'll never be able to get out of this rut. So tatlo yan. So government, public, private sector, and then civil society. Church, people should organize. And then at the end, there's another diamond, there's another point. And I call it Y-O-U. So kumbaga, gobyerno, private sector, civil society, and then at the end of the day, kasama tayo. Call it the diamond principle.
I think it's a good one.
Isn't it?
Yes. We have to be participative, sir.
Correct.
Right? Because yes, go ahead, sir.
And there are certain things that only you can do.
Right.
There are certain things that only you can do, and you better do it.
Right. I agree with you. Final words go to you, sir. And let's emphasize on our pro-Philippines. That's what we're trying to just relate to people here.
Right. Una-una salamat and thank you for this opportunity, Pero ang nagtatanong, let me just try to go back to that form that said earlier. How do you avert a Ukraine situation in the Philippines? We don't have a Ukraine situation in the Philippines. We can. It will not happen here unless we allow it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
unless we allow it to happen. So first and foremost, we need to be able to take full responsibility for ourselves.
Right.
It's not, let's have a mind shift. Kahit na ngayon, we need to get out of whatever corner that we have painted ourselves in. We need to do that. So, and then the other one is we need to remember that there are certain, quote unquote, national security is based on 3 pillars. Number 1, unity. Number 2, security. Number 3, protection of the people. So, but number 1, unity. You know what unity is based on? It's based on the citizens sharing one national identity. Dapat malinaw sa atin na Pilipino tayo. No offense. We don't usually think of ourselves as Filipinos. We think of ourselves as, manood ka ng TikTok. But I'll tell you what, sometimes we think ourselves of Lasalites or Ateneans or this school or that school, UP. Hindi. More than that, Pilipino tayo. Hindi tayo tiga South or what. But already we moved there. Dati, people would, try not to talk in Cebuano or Bisaya and stuff like that. But now they care. They talk,
Yeah.
So we're advancing, slowly advancing. But everything, our national security and our national future is based, number 1, on unity. And unity is based on identity. So it's a matter of national security importance that we develop that. So if you ask me, if and when you invite me again,
you will be back. This is not like the last time. We have
what we can talk about is the nationalist type of education.
Yes, I like that. I will do my homework.
Education naman talaga mo linya mo, hindi ba?
Yes. Yes, sir. I will do my homework. That will be the next.
Sige. And by the way, let me just show you the book.
Yes, sir.
Ito yung kay Joel Monte.
Okay. I can't see it, but yeah.
Sandali.
A little back.
It says, we must level the playing field. It was published by Foundation for Economic Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe it's a good read. I should get one.
It's a very good read. Along with
I can find that one. I haven't read it.
And so, well, there you are. So, I believe things are looking up, I believe.
Yes.
That this, we are I believe we're on the cusp of something new, a third opportunity. Yes, there is crisis facing us, but I believe we can turn crisis into opportunity.
Sorry. We learned that in school too. Thank you so much, 𝗘𝗱𝗂𝗂𝗂. Till the next time. This is not the last time.
Yes, thank you so much
for our education today.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you. Till the next time, pro-Philippines. Remember that. Pro-Philippines. Mga kababayan, tayong lahat pro-Philippines po.
Correct.
Thank you, 𝗘𝗱𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂. Till the next time.
Till the next time. Thank you.
Thank you.